Love yourself. Talk to yourself. Compliment yourself. Hello, my name is Marcelo Vignali, and I'm going to talk about actually one of the toughest aspects of working as a professional. And part of that entails that you have to find a way to keep yourself up. You have to find a way to keep yourself motivated. And it's this really delicate balance that is going to be taking place, not just as a young professional, but throughout your entire career. And this is that balance between your positive attitude and that negative voice that's going to try and erode you. And I know that as an artist, you're feeling that. You're feeling that every time you start drawing, there's a voice inside of you. Like you tackle that drawing, you believe in yourself enough to say, I'm going to do this. And then this other part of you comes in as soon as you start working, it starts to undermine that. And it's a real, legitimate voice. And it talks to you. And it says, you can't do this. Well, who are you trying to kid? Who are you trying to fool? You're not that good. Hey, you know what? So-and-so's better. And so like this little voice starts going off in your head and it starts to undermine you. And at a certain point you feel defeated and you're like, oh geez, this isn't coming out. And you give up on it and you get angry. You get angry at yourself. Oh, I'm no good. And then somebody looks at your drawing and says, wow, that's really beautiful. That's wonderful. And what do you say? Oh, no, it's not. It's full of mistakes. I hate it. Why do we do that to ourselves? Well, who else does that to themselves? Why do we have to, as artists, beat ourselves up like this? And it's an interesting dilemma. And it's interesting because sometimes I find these parallels happening in our world. And I try to equate it to the art world. And one of the things that I find is that motivation is motivation. Whether you're working as an artist, whether you're working as an athlete, motivation is motivation. Now, when you think of somebody like a bodybuilder or a weightlifter, somebody's going to lift a lot of weight, what do? What do they tell themselves? Do they tell themselves, I can't do this? There's no way I'm going to be able to lift that. 10 reps? It ain't happening. No, they don't do that. What do they say? You look at them, and we call them meatheads or knuckleheads or something, right? But no. Watch them. And they pat themselves. They get themselves really worked up and excited, and their friends slapping their back. Yeah, come on, you get it. Yeah, I'm going to lift this. And you see that, and they build themselves up for that. They build themselves up for that moment. And they grab that weight and they lift it and they start curling that weight, or they do that single rep that nobody believes that they can do. And they're not even sure they can do it. But you know what? They're not going to tell themselves right before they lift it that they can't do it. They're not going to fill their minds full of doubt. Instead, they tell themselves that they can. So think about that. Love yourself. Talk to yourself. Compliment yourself. You can do this, right? Well, we need to be doing the same thing as artists. We need to start preparing ourselves. When you're going to do a drawing, you think about, right, that I can do this. And talk to yourself. Come on. Yeah, you got this in you. You got this. Compliment yourself. I know you're capable of doing this. You've done fantastic things. You've done beautiful things. And this is a stepping stone. This is a process. You're going to dedicate that time to it. So you start to build yourself up and believe in yourself. Now, I want to talk about that little voice, that little negative voice that you have inside your head. Because some of you think that that's your enemy. Some of you think that that's the part of you that's going to destroy you. And it can. It can. But it's also the voice that causes you to grow. If you're an artist and you believe in yourself, and you believe in yourself so much that you have no more doubt inside of you, then you stop trying. Well, why should I try? I'm a very good artist. You want pen and ink? There it is. You want You want oil paints? They're over there. Right? It may look like garbage, may not look very good at all. But if they have they're filled with this, this self-esteem and confidence, they're not going to push themselves to grow. So understand that little voice that's trying to erode at you actually is not your enemy. That little tiny voice inside of you, that little bit of doubt, is what's going to push you a little harder. It's that little doubt, that nagging doubt that you're trying to silence. And as you start working on that piece, you hear that little voice coming in and you try harder and you dig down. And that's what I was saying. It's a lifelong process. It's not something that happens early in your career and then it just goes away. It continues to eat at you. It continues throughout a lifetime. I know some of you are probably disappointed, like, oh, I was hoping that voice would go away. In most likelihood, it's not going to go away. But here's the thing. You don't want it to go away. Because if it goes away, you're going to stop trying. If it goes away, you're not going to push yourself that much harder to get to the next level. So as your professional, you have to straddle this line that you need to love yourself. You need to give yourself that self-esteem. You need to believe in yourself and give yourself that faith. But if you start falling too far over to that line, what happens? You start to think that, well, I don't need to push myself that hard. I'm really good at this. I don't need to listen to anybody. I don't need to learn anymore. And that's it. And you stop growing. And you die as an artist. Your career ends. And then on the other hand, you hear that little negative voice that says, you can't do it. You can't do this. Who do you think you are? You can't fool anybody. Your art isn't that good. And it erodes you. And it destroys you and discourages you. And you can't do it. It'll actually crush you. That little voice will get louder and louder and stronger, and it will destroy you. But you have to be able to straddle that throughout your whole career, throughout your whole lifetime. You're going to be going back and forth. Sometimes it swings a little bit more to one direction. Sometimes it swings to another. It's an organic process that's taking place as it just sort of swings back and forth like a pendulum. And you have to navigate that throughout your lifetime so that it doesn't go too far in one direction and then too far in another. And you're able to stay right there, navigating throughout your career, believing in yourself, talking to yourself, and listening to that little voice, because that little voice is going to point out your weaknesses. That little voice is your friend. Anyway, I hope that helps in dealing with this aspect that we need to work on. Because as artists, we're self-deprecating. As artists, we have this tendency to tear ourselves down, to let that little voice become our voice. You're not that good. Oh, heck, that's not very good at all. Oh, it's really messy. Oh, I'm disappointed in that painting or whatever. And one of the things I learned, that when somebody gives you a compliment, somebody pays you a compliment, what they're telling you is that in their judgment, in their esteem, they like what you just did. They like that. So if you tell them, oh, that's just garbage, what are you saying about them? What are you saying about their point of view? What are you saying about their taste? It's not just about you. They're giving you their impression. So you have to be sensitive about that. And I thought about that. I digested that. And I thought, you know what? Even if I disagree, even if I have this little voice inside my head that's telling me that isn't that good, the artwork is not that good, just to thank them. Because from their point of view, they're extending themselves to give me this compliment, to pay me this compliment. They're extending themselves. This is what they're giving to me. And this isn't as... and if I critique that, or I critique my work, I'm actually critiquing their opinion. So the best thing to do is to smile and be gracious and appreciative and thank them for that. And it teaches you a little bit about how to love yourself. So love yourself, talk to yourself, compliment yourself. Take care. God bless.